Welcome to the Heather Penny Podcast, where our goal is to help you reach your potential by increasing clarity, building confidence, and engaging courage. Dr. Heather Penny is a leadership coach, trusted advisor, and admired author. I'm Christina Morales, a writer and marketer, and Heather is my dear friend and my coach. So today we're launching into the new year. We made it through the holidays. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. Let's go hit those sales and celebrate. But I think we're all ready to close the lid on 2020 and let's have a fresh new start in 2021. And so we're going to start off today's topic with staying curious in the new year. Now, Heather, this is an interesting topic to start with. I would have never thought of staying curious in the new year. How did you come up with this? Is this a new buzz phrase in the coaching world? Did you come up with it speaking to a client? Can you tell us a little bit about staying curious?
Yeah, it's definitely a buzzword in my coaching world because it has helped diffuse many situations over 2020 with the stress rising around us externally. As I've worked with clients and I've worked with companies, what I've seen is just this reaction to the stress. Anger, depression, frustration, anxiety, you just go down the list. One of the things that I'm learning in working with people in these moments of intensity, is saying, you just can't tell someone to stop feeling anxious, right? Stop feeling anxious makes you want to bite your nails some more. Or stop being angry just makes you want to punch something, right?
Yes.
So I'm never going to tell someone to stop because it just feels mean and cruel and unkind. What I am going to say is, here's another option. If you can reach for staying curious, you can kind of switch your brain away from reacting from the panic and the intensity of the situation to ask questions like, what's really going on? Why is this person responding this way? What is it that I'm not understanding? How can I get their perspective? These are all curious-minded questions versus how can I put them in their place? How can I get revenge? How can I protect myself? And not that these questions are, needed at times, but at the same hand, I just go, yeah, if you're only filtering every crisis or every intense moment through this posture of defending yourself, you're not giving yourself the permission to really stay curious and say, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. So as I've stepped in these conversations and mediate even conflict between individuals and groups, one of the things and the values I just put out there is let's stay curious together. And I'm committed to staying curious with you. I'm not going to commit, I'm not going to take sides here. I'm going to stay curious about what's the truth here. Because typically there's always a version of truth from everyone's perspective. Right. The more I can help support that, that's me staying curious as a coach. Sometimes I do have opinions. I'll be thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'd be mad too.
Right.
And I'm not going to help the situation if I start taking sides or becoming biased. I can understand it, but I'm really staying curious from every person's perspective and then trying to really figure out what the truth is.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you're starting off with this topic though, because New Year's resolutions are overdone and overrated, and this is more of a lifestyle. In fact, I was looking up how long New Year's resolutions actually last. And I found that 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by the second week of February. And I'm not judging because the quarantine 15, yeah, I'm lucky if it's 15. And so staying curious, it's not a resolution, it's an internal goal. And it's a way that you're changing your thinking. How do you view curiosity as a goal versus a resolution? How do you find the difference between a goal and a resolution?
Well, that's a great question because it makes me think of when my resolution was like to eat vegetables, and I tried to shift my percentage of health eating from like maybe 20% vegetables and 80% of everything else that I love. Switch that to 80% vegetables and 20% of everything I love, thinking that I'm like, this is a good, really cool percentage. So that was one of my resolutions one year. And I'm applauding anyone who makes it to February. I realized I made it 3 days into January.
Really?
Yeah. And that's when I just thought something about this resolution thing, at least the way I'm viewing it, is not working. So, and whether it's how my lifestyle, how I eating or anything else, it's just this awareness of saying, you know what, Heather, let's stay curious. Let's start staying curious about what your body's really needing, what you're asking for, why you're reaching for too much food, why you're reaching for all the comfort foods, what's going on really in your life, what are you feeling, how are you overcompensating for that, what are you not being honest about, and then asking these questions, staying curious without the shame. And that's one thing I tell people is I can say, I know a lot of times we don't want to stay curious of why am I reaching for that third brownie? Because then I have to deal with the conflict that I've been having with great Aunt Margaret over there.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't want to step into that, right? So it's just easier to eat a brownie or go buy more things or stay busy. These are my kind of addictions, so to speak, that I can grab onto. And I just try and help humanity see all of us lean towards some sort of addiction or some sort of comfort because we're trying to get relief. You know, we're trying to get relief in our world and in our spaces. The more we can be honest about that and staying curious, the better we can set, the better job we can do at setting resolutions. So now as I kind of reach for that staying curious, you know, using myself as example, I realized, oh, you have too much going on in your life. You got to pull back a little bit. You're actually trying to fit in, typical to my nature. You know, you're trying to fit and squeeze in as many clients as possible because people are calling and you don't want to say no and you don't want to disappoint. And before you know it, you're working 8 hours straight without a break.
Wow.
So guess what? At the end of 5 p.m., when you've been working from 8 to 5 and you've been on the phone dealing with conflict and helping everyone, you deserve a big fat treat.
Oh, I think the same way.
Yeah. I'm going to sit down to a 5-course meal and I've earned it. So, you know, the true resolution needed to be at that core of where are you being unkind to yourself? That's where I needed to stay curious. And as I realized, oh, Heather, you're not giving yourself a lunch break. My new resolution began to be, you get to work for 3 hours and then you get to take a break, and you put that on your calendar and you tell your assistant, don't let me schedule anything. You know, I love my assistant. She's always helped me protect my calendar. So I have people holding me accountable to where I want to be kind to myself and how I want to be kind. And even clearing days off my calendar. So my resolution went to much deeper level instead of, all right, let's eat more vegetables and let's get it right so that I can feel in control on a surface level. No, that's just mean to myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it seems like resolutions are just like what you said. I'll eat 20% more or less. No, I'll eat 20% bad and 80% good, but there's no plan there. And what you just said is, okay, now why am I eating like this? What am I avoiding? And so it's getting to the core of the problem. It's not just, okay, this is my goal. You know, I want to make 50% more. It's, okay, this is how I'm going to get there. It's a plan, which is so cool. And then curiosity is basically, how am I going to get there? It's creating the plan.
Right. And how do I stay in that curiosity without shame?
Yeah.
That's at least for me, you know, but I see that with a lot of humanity that I work with. So I just say, bring other people into that with you that aren't going to let you shame yourself. You know, once I saw what was really behind the issue, my stress of some clients that weren't doing well, because I love my clients, the stress of maybe family members, the stress of a lot of things we hold as individuals that were creeping up on me, that was making me deserve and earn that third brownie or whatever it was that I was really shooting for, or that extra items off Amazon that I went shopping for. All these things are really highlighting what I really need so that I can have a kindness toward myself. And I think I wrote something about that on my website about kind resolutions. So I think it's a reference point too.
Mm-hmm. And in the past few weeks, we talked about curiosity starts with yourself. And you were saying, what do I want and how do I define my voice? Where does the journey begin on answering these questions? How do we stay curious with ourselves to make ourselves the best version of us?
Wow. That stumped me for a second. Big one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like, how do we, because you have to start with yourself. How do we become the best version of ourselves and stay curious with, who am I? What's my identity? And you're talking about true beliefs also. We need to establish our true beliefs and then maybe establish our curiosity from there.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer that first with, I don't know. What do I know? As I say that, I'm going to say, here's what I've witnessed.
Okay.
with myself, it's slowing down, taking time.
Hmm.
And that's really the biggest thing. I work with a lot of creative, high functioning, intelligent people. And to convince them kind of to pull off to the side of the road and recheck themselves is really half my battle. Once I can get them to slow down, they actually have this inner wisdom within them that asks some really good questions like, why am I going so fast? And why can't I slow down? But that's honestly the nature of my coaching. When I work with people, I say, oh, I'll be happy to work with you. We're going to work together once a week. We're going to set up about a 45, 50-minute time slot. And then we're going to do that for a commitment of 3 months. That's the reason I've set that out. It's kind of a analogy of pulling over to the side of the road and saying, yeah, we'll talk about it, but I got to get you to slow down long enough. Typically, all my high functioning, wonderful, amazing people are like, I'll give you 2 appointments and I hope you can fix me in 2 appointments. So I can fix nobody. Second of all, I don't think anyone's broken. Third of all, really the ability to pull over and evaluate, that's the essence of staying curious. So the number one thing is helping people to slow down and then ask the questions that they need to ask. Why am I eating all that brownie? Why am I overbuying? Why am I running too fast? These are all questions I want to help clients ask and answer.
Okay, that's really hard because I'm one of those people, like you just said, I am always going because I don't want to stop and I don't want to, because it's hard work. And, you know, if I pull out the hard things, then I have to deal with the hard things. And I don't know if I want to, because it's hard and it's ugly. And so do we need to stay curious about that? Well, if we want to be the best version of ourselves, we do. So.
Well, and here's where I would say, be kind to yourself. Just do this with kind people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do this for a living. And so I step into this with people and say, hey, I'm going to stay curious with you. No judgment here. But guess what? I need that too. So the people I have in my either personal world or my professional world have a little bit of an essence for this. I hire people to help me be kind to myself, basically. The coaches and counselors I hire, they help me with it. But then my social circle, everything from my husband to my kids in my more intimate world to extending outward. I was just with a friend last night and she asked me a poignant question that got me thinking, because she's staying curious with me. She goes, are you still enjoying what you're doing? And I think I took about 20 minutes answering her. Thank you, Michelle, for asking that question. But it got me thinking, because she wants to stand with me in that and making sure that I continue to enjoy my life. And she's staying curious with me without shame, without judgment. And I run fast, I run hard, and I love to achieve a lot. But I have these amazing, sweet people in my life that say, hey, are you still happy? You still having fun?
Yeah.
And they let me think about that. They let me ask it, because I know my Achilles heels. So to be able to be honest about what pulls at us, or the shadow side of us, and then have kind people in our life that help us to stay curious about that, that's how we step into that well. And I think one of the unkindest things we do is when we pull over kind of our car that's racing down the road, we pull it over to the side of the road and sit there and we just kind of beat ourselves up. I kind of step into that car and say, hang on, let's stop beating ourselves up. Let's talk about this. Let's stay curious. Who else can you invite into this conversation? I just gently help them start having kinder conversations with themselves to really investigate, who am I? What do I really want in life? And what am I doing to myself that is unkind?
I love the conversations that you're bringing up, because sometimes we don't know what questions to ask ourselves. Like you have been bringing up things for me to ask myself. I'm like, oh, I haven't thought about it. Or even something that's so obvious, like, why do I respond this way? Well, it's easier not to think about it, or it's been with us so long that we can't see it anymore. And so it helps to have that outside person reminding us of what we should be curious about within our own lives so that we can take care of it.
Yeah. And I think one of the favorite things I tell clients is, well, I don't know, but don't worry. I'll stay in it with you, because I believe you will know, and I'll help you keep asking the questions until we get the clarity we need. And that's why 3 months I find is a really great commitment level to make. I don't want to just talk with you for one session. I'm like, well, what is that going to accomplish? And how are you really going to get something that's sustainable? as I kind of studied human growth and development and how we change and grow and replace old habits with good habits, it's kind of a 3-month process. So give yourself the luxury of that, to stay curious for 3 months, and I'll stay curious with you so that you can start asking the right questions. Not how do I keep up with the pack? How do I go faster? But how do I pull over my car and ask the questions I need and get the answers I need? And can I trust that I can do this? And I'm just there going, I don't have the answers for your life, and I will never pretend to have the answers for your life. What I will do is, I believe in the process, and I believe in the fact that you have the answers within you. So I'm going to stay in it with you and help you ask and answer the questions you need. And that's really where we have that curiosity piece, that it really gives honor to the journey and gives honor to each other's journeys that we're taking.
And we have like 40 or 50 years worth of baggage and bad habits. 3 months, not a bad investment. I mean, that's pretty miraculous when you boil it down.
That's what I say. And it's what, it's what I do with my coach. And of course I end up staying for like a year and a half, and I think you do what you need to do for that season in your journey, and then you're off and running. But then I can feel it when I need to invite someone in, and I may be going for years at a time. And then I realize I think I need to get some kind of guide on my journey here a little bit, because my world just keeps growing and increasing. So with that, more challenges grow and increase. And it always surprises us. It's kind of the shadow side of success. Everyone thinks, if I can just be successful and reach this goal, whether it's money or fame or popularity, whatever it is that we're all shooting for, right? The reality is, if you ask anyone who's been successful, all of a sudden they're sitting there with the shadow side of success going, well, now how do I keep up with this? And do I still want this? And what's next for me? These are all questions that people are secretly whispering to me. And I go, yeah, I get it. We get to stay curious. We get to talk about this together. And we get to really talk about, what do you want at the heart level? Now that you've achieved what you wanted to achieve, there's other areas too, of fulfillment, affirmation. We don't want to just be focused on achievement. Otherwise, it's a very empty, shallow existence. And we feel it somewhere around 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, early Tuesday morning, and you're realizing, oh my goodness, everything's hitting me. Is this what I really want?
And another part of curiosity that I realized is it's the opposite of arrogance. Like, arrogance presumes to know everything. It's unyielding. It's my way or the highway. And it's inward. It's like, what I know. And as I thought about this, arrogance stagnates our growth because we box ourselves in with what we already know. It makes our world so small. I have a friend who's a business leader, and I admire him so much. And he says the smartest person in the room is the room. Because when we all join together, then that's when we do our best, right? And so we're basically better together. How can leaders benefit in being more curious with their employees, or parents with their kids, or even spouses together? When we stay curious together, we all benefit. When we're arrogant, it's kind of like we're individuals and it's what we know, and it's pride. So how can curiosity build our relationships with each other?
Wow, I like that connection you made about arrogance. And I've always thought about it too with judgment. These are where some of these kind of divisive emotions start coming up, or perspectives. When we start judging people, or we think we're better than anyone else in the room, or we think we're the smartest in the room, right there, you've taken yourself out of the team. So the staying curious is the antidote, almost the medicine, to help you not drift over into that. And I think what I want to give honor to is each human has these tendencies to drift over into things. Self-sufficiency. I don't need anyone. It's a form of arrogance, right? I'm really smart in this area, and I can't wait to impart my wisdom. Arrogance, right? And these are things, if we're really honest with ourselves, we think this way, and we have to understand what it is that we're pulled toward. And even staying curious with myself, I listen to myself. I go, oh, now don't you just get up on your little high horse there and tell everybody that you think you know. You don't know. You don't know, Heather. This is kind of what I tell myself when I step into any room. I feel the pressure to address the situation and sound wise. Do I have wisdom? Yes. Have I worked hard and researched and done a lot of my work behind the scenes? Of course, yes. Does that make me better than anyone else in the room? No. It only allows me to step into that space and say with my true belief, I believe I'm here for a reason, and it's to go after truth. That's it. So then I'm not focused on my image. I'm not focused on what I'm supposed to, the expectations everybody has on me to side with their perspective,
Mm-hmm.
align with their thoughts, or to promote their secret agenda, all this stuff, which I can feel the pull of. And then especially when you're getting hired to do this, you have this, well, maybe I should side with the CEO.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line.
There's a lot on the line. And if he doesn't like what I have to say, he can fire me on the spot, But I think I just let myself off the hook saying, who do you think you are? You're nothing huge or special. You're just here for a reason and a purpose, and you get to honor that purpose and that reason, which is to build bridges and to help people find the truth of the matter. And then you've done your job. That's it. So I think as we kind of let ourselves be at peace with what it is we're supposed to offer this world, it takes us out of judging and arrogance and all these other areas. And that's all starts with staying curious about what's my best to offer here.
Mm-hmm.
So when I walk into a room, I can feel the stress of it, especially with it's conflict. I've walked in groups and people are yelling at each other, and I'm like, whoa, this is really stressful. Why are they looking at me? What do I know about what's going on here? But I think as I step into the room, I'm able to say, I value each person in here, and I value the truth. So let's see if we can stay curious and step into this. And I can feel everyone just relax, because that's all we all want, right? We all want to feel heard, and good people want the truth to come out. And we want all the different pieces of the truth, almost like a quilt. My job is to kind of find all the different pieces and pull the quilt together and say, okay, I think we have the full version of the truth now. Everyone feel good about that. And I think that is allowing us that space to stay curious. And it kind of goes back to that gray space too that I talked about.
I love that, because when you stay curious, you're, like you said, you're giving the person a voice, and by giving them a voice, you're giving them value. And that's what we all want. Whether you agree with me or not is irrelevant. I just want you to hear my opinion and listen to it and show that I have value. And it seems like that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can stay curious about one another. We can stay curious about ourselves. And that allows us to really hear what's going on and value each person in the room, including ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So then how do we implement this into the new year? So when we strive to be curious, do we pick several topics to focus on? For example, self-improvement, work-related, recreational. I want to share my opinions more. Like work-related, I want to learn how to use Facebook ads. I want to read 12 books on Renaissance art. Like, what areas should we stay curious on? And how do we have measurable goals? Like, how do we know that we're succeeding at staying curious and staying open and learning?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, you ask these big questions, Christina. I have so many thoughts going through my head. Everything from the 4 tires, like checking our fulfillment, our achievement, our information, our growth. But then I think at a more human level, I would just say, I think a lot of my mind, my body, my heart, and my spirit. Where am I at with all of those? And it allows me to do a quick inventory, 5 minutes or less. How is my mind? What's my mindset like? I just did it this morning before I got on the podcast, because I'm coming off a really intense week. We're moving into holidays and some breaks, which I'm really looking forward to, but I wanted to make sure I offered my best in this podcast. So I just did a quick inventory. How's my mind? It's sharp. It's excited about the content today. And my mindset is, I just get to show up and offer my best, versus, oh my gosh, I got to get it right and say everything. Okay. So I'm checking my mind. I'm checking my heart and just saying, how are you feeling about everything in life, about the holidays, everything? And I'm like, I'm feeling good. Okay? I'm feeling good, and then I'm checking kind of my body, and like, how's my body feeling? Do I need to stretch? Do I want to try and get a walk in before my talk? All that kind of stuff. And I go, nah, I'm just going to relax, drink my latte, and show up and text my producer and friend Christina over there and say, I'm coming. And then the last piece is my spirit. I think as I'm aging, this is the one I'm paying most attention to. And, I'm going into my 5th decade here. So I think it's developmentally appropriate. I think I'm asking more existential questions, to be honest. Where am I at in my relationship with God? How do I feel about myself? What's kind of this greater love out there that I want to connect with? Why? Because I've achieved a lot and I'm at peace with all these other things. And so I have the luxury of asking some of these spiritually minded questions and kind of the state of my spirit. How am I guiding my children into their listening to their spirit? Where are they at with that? An 18-year-old, a 16-year-old. Where was I at 18? I don't want to take them too far into it. And we're trying to celebrate Advent too. And we're, just listening to what's swirling around us as we step into some of these spiritual concepts as well. What does faith look like to us as a family? So these are all like a quick inventory check, because I believe each human holds all four of these aspects. And when I speak of the spirit, some people immediately go to religion, and I go, not necessarily. I think religion can tether us to kind of our faith, but I think there's a much bigger thing happening is how are we connecting with kind of love all around us? Mm-hmm. And, as I was drinking my latte with my husband, I said, give me something spiritual to think about. And he was great. He was right on cue. He's always got something to offer me. And he's a super smart guy. And so he just kind of said, well, I'm thinking about, he played a song for us. And I just loved it. And then I just said, I think I'm really thinking more about how do we offer ourselves more self-compassion? Because that's what I see in my daily work. And I thought I would even say more than half, 90% or plus of the issues we deal with have to do with how mean we are to ourselves. And I think that as I step into that, I'm trying to just join a greater sense of love that is swirling around us and that we all get to participate in. How do I reach out to that? How do I participate in that? How do I offer more of that? So those are my deep thoughts of the spirit today.
That's incredible, because right now, we're going into, it's been almost a year that we've been isolated and having COVID. People are depressed, they're financially stressed. And then we lashed out at each other because we're not staying curious. Why am I acting this way? How do I address this issue so I don't just lash out? Like what we were saying, responding and reacting in gray space. Everybody is just reacting. And so if we take time out, stay curious, why am I so upset? Now, what can I do about my frustration? What can I do about my isolation? Then if we treat ourselves right, ask ourselves the right question, then our output is going to be better.
Exactly. You're right on, Christina. So what's the best we can offer our world? Mm-hmm. Keep ourselves organized internally, really do an inventory check. And I could feel myself getting really messy on Monday. I was mad at the kids and there was no reason. And I could feel his irritability. And I just had to confess it kind of to my husband. I said, I'm really irritated at them and I don't want to take it out on them. Like I started thinking, wow, they're entitled. Wow. And they want more, it's not the truth. My kids are they're appropriately a 16-year-old and 18-year-old, and they're great kids. So I kind of was saying that to my husband, and he of course asked this poignant question, well, what's really going on? And I said, I'm feeling a little out of control with this area in my business, and I'm a little scared about it. And I'm feeling a little nervous about this relationship that I have conflict in. Once I said it out loud, I was like, and now I'm really sad, and I'm mad that I'm sad. I mean, it's like a quick inventory I did with the state of my mind, my heart, my spirit. And then I checked with my body and I said, oh, and that's why you just ate, you had to have that third helping of peppermint bark. So, all of that just helped me own it so that I didn't put it on my kids. I didn't try and eat more food. I didn't go buy. And then I was like, well, now I have to kind of sit in these emotions that I don't like. There's nothing I can do about it. You feel out of control, right?
Yeah.
But I have a loving relationship with my husband and with other friends, that I'm able to say, yeah, this is a little bit of a hard day and I'm going to own it. And here's why. And I'm going to just be kind to myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all the time we have for today. And I love that because we came up with a good conclusion. If you're curious with yourself, you can deal with it. And then you're not acting out and everyone's not just prickly towards each other.
Yes.
So, yes. And that's what we need. So join us next time when we address our next topic. You mean I have permission to say that? That's going to be good. So please subscribe to the Heather Penny podcast. And for questions, comments, and resources, visit heatherpenny.com. Remember, to live your best life, you have to live intentionally. Have a great day. We can't wait for you to join us next week. Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.